Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Blue Ridge Silverhound, and today we're going to talk about the 1970S Lincoln Penny. Maybe you've come across one of these and change, and you're just wanting to know how much it's worth. Is it worth anything at all? Well, I'm happy to say that there are a few variants of this coin that you really must know about in order to kind of make that assessment of whether or not it has the extra value. I'm happy to say there's a few things, a few factors that are involved that'll actually make this coin worth more than face value. But before we get started, if you like today's content, just go ahead and hit the like button multiple times, even though once is all it takes. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to Blue Ridge Silverhound. That way you can be in the know of all of the new What's It Worth segments. But let's go ahead and get started. So the 1970 Lincoln Cent is one of those kind of benchmark years where we went from the old to a little bit more of the modern. It's a coin that is quite readily available, seeing as how the U.S. Mint had produced over 690 million pieces. So it's very plentiful out there in pocket change. It's available in coin roll hunting. You see it quite frequently in bad condition and nice condition. They still come up in mint state type grades. Okay, and those are the coins that are going to be worth a little bit more money than your standard circulated coins. But as opposed to just talking about the coin itself, there are a few things that you need to know about the 1970 Lincoln Cent, specifically the S minted variant, which is a coin produced in San Francisco. So you'll be able to see the mint mark right below the date. All right, so with this particular coin, not a lot of many people know that there are two different date sizes. There is a large date and then there's a small date. Okay, so you have two really different types of variants of the date sizes that are well represented within this particular date. But which one is the more common type and which one is the more tougher to find? Well, the larger date example is going to be the example that you see quite frequently. All right, about 95% of the entire run is consisted of this larger date size. Okay, so this is more or less the standard when you're going through pocket change. More than likely, you're going to be finding the large date variety, and the small date is quite a bit more tougher to find as it makes up the other 5% of the total mintage run. So, how do we know if we have a large date, small date? Okay, because if you look at both coins side by side with the naked eye, it's really kind of hard to discern the difference. All right, but there are a few things that you can keep an eye out on that'll help you identify if you have a large date or a small date. So let's go ahead and take a look at this side-by-side comparison close-up of both a large date and a small date. Now keep in mind, the large date example is the more common of the two. Okay, the small date that you see at the bottom of this graphic is the one that's a little bit tougher to find. Now, is it rare? Absolutely not. Okay, it's not the type of coin that you can just turn around and retire off of, but you can make some money off of it. So as you can see on the large date schematic on this image right here, you'll see that I drew a line, okay, from the top of the 9 all the way across to the right to the 0. Now see where the placement of the 7 is and compare it with the small date variant. You'll see that the 7 on the large date drops considerably lower below that line than the small date variant. All right, there is also one other thing, and you'll actually see this particular diagnostic with the yellow arrows. So check out that inner curl of both 9s. Okay, on the large date variant, okay, that inside curl actually points more to the southeast, okay, whereas on the small date, that curl is a little bit more tighter, and then that inner point of that curl actually points more toward the east and not so much down. So this is going to be another diagnostic that you'll want to know when you're searching out a small date compared to a much more common large date. All right. In addition, with the small date variant, as you see on this photo, okay, you're going to have a much weaker struck Liberty on the coin. Now, this may not necessarily be the most prominent feature on the coin, but it is also an additional diagnostic for the 1970S small date. So if it has a weaker Liberty, you probably more than likely have a 1970S small date. All right, so those are the two kind of comparison models. Of course, it helps if you look at these coins with like an 8 or 10 times power magnifier. But if you have just a standard handheld kind of magnifier for like reading books and that sort of thing, you could also use that as well. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the prices on what these coins sell for. So the large date, it's common. Typically, circulated brown beat up examples are worth about 2 cents. Now, why 2 cents? They are copper, so you got to adjust for the actual value of that composition. These are not like today's coins where it's a copper coated zinc and they're only worth literally face value. Copper coins pre 1982 are all generally worth around 2 cents. Okay, can you get it for that? No, not unless you have a bulk of them. The small date, however, is a coin that you can actually make money on. Now, what I did was screenshot a few of sold eBay listings, as you could see right here. And these are all within the last day or two or three, somewhere around there, from the filming of this video. So as you can see, you have one example that's sold in excess of $20. Pretty nice example, although this one looks like it has a few spots on there. It's seen a little bit of circulation, but I would certainly call it like a low-grade mint state example, kind of like a mint state 62-ish. The other example here sold by a rather prominent eBay seller in coins, sold another example a little bit over $11. Okay, and of course I didn't take into account any shipping costs or anything like that. So as you can see, you know, with the small date example, raw examples that aren't graded by like a PCGS or NGC, still worth some money. Okay, you could easily get anywhere from $5 on the low end. Now that would be a circulated coin, which, believe it or not, a circulated beat up 1970S small date still sells in that $5 to $10 range. And then the higher up you go, depending on grade, those will run anywhere in the $20 to $30 range. So that is your 1970S Lincoln Cent in a nutshell. Okay, let's go ahead and kind of recap exactly all the information on this coin. All right, so for the total mintage of both variants, that's the large date and small date combined, you're looking at a mintage of 690,560,004. All right, that's quite a bit of coins. Now keep in mind, roughly 5% of the entire mintage run will exhibit the small date variant. All right, so it's a very small percentage, but they are out there to be found. Large date coins are common in all grades. So whether you find one that's super circulated or you find another example that has a lot more mint state qualities, that looks newer, keep in mind, either or, they're very prominent out there in pocket change and in coin rolls from the bank. Large date examples, again, circulated on the low end, you're looking at about 1 or 2 cents, not worth selling all on its own. Mint state examples, typically I've seen them between 75 cents, $1. Sometimes you'll see them for like $2 depending on the dealer. And these are raw valuations, which means they're not graded by a third-party provider of authentication. Small date examples is where you get to see a lot more of the money. Circulated examples, somewhere in the $5 area, and it could go up as high as $30. Sometimes I've seen them higher than that, depending on the overall eye appeal of those top tier grades. And if you are interested in coins that are graded through like PCGS or NGC, these examples are extremely rare above mint state 66. And can be worth somewhere in the $500 to $1,500 range, okay, depending on the auction service you use, who you sell it with. You know, these float around on eBay and Heritage and Great Collections on occasion. Mint state 67 is the tougher grade for both the large and small date variants. And then, you know, If it grades a lot higher than that, then the coin can be worth even more, which is good news. So, that was a mouthful. 10 minutes worth of 1970s Lincoln cents. Hope you guys found a lot of interesting learning when it comes to this particular coin. Again, it's not just about large and small dates, but there are repunchment marks. There's a really big double die that's worth thousands of dollars that can be found in pocket change. And those are all coins that typically I don't talk about on these because I wanted to talk about just the raw base value of a coin right out of change without factoring in, like varieties. But this one, because there is a mix of large and small dates, is worth the discussion. So I want to thank everyone for joining in on this video. As always, go ahead and check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, the best way, bar none, that you could support my channel is to like and subscribe. And feel free to share at your own leisure. So I want to thank you guys again for joining in on this What's It Worth episode. I'll see you on the next one. You guys take care. Keep hunting.